let me tell you something about my pops, because he is the reason that I'm in this Charlie trip, trying to save what's left of my mind. My father was first generation Italian. His dad was dirt poor. He was a good tailor, but he only made 19 bucks a week, and he had 3 kids in a one-bedroom house with one toilet and no shower. You know the story. And he was a drunk, and he was a womanizer. So whatever money they made, and they didn't have much, he would gamble it away, or he would spend it on, these women. And then he would come home drunk, and he was such a fucking drunk. He'd come home, he'd open the door, and my dad's sitting there like 4 years old, and he'd come walking in, and his pants are soaked with urine, and he'd say, "Respecto, respecto, you must respect me." And so my dad, even as a 4-year-old, is looking at that shit, and he's like, "Man, you ain't got nothing that I respect." So he grew up, he had no confidence. He had no confidence, and he was scared to death of ending up like his dad, ending up like the bums out in front of his little one room above the liquor store. And fear drove him. And fear is a good thing, because if you don't have fear, you can't get out of a situation. You just say, "Fuck it, I'm not afraid. I'll just go down the drain. That's cool." So fear is absolutely mandatory when it comes to survival, but it has to be rational. And where my dad went wrong is, because he had no confidence in himself, he overdid it. He figured the only way he was going to be able to survive was to become a doctor, and not only a doctor, a surgeon. And he figured if he was a surgeon, he'd have confidence and people would love him. And so he just went on a mission, and he graduated #1 in his class at Michigan State. He graduated #2 at Wayne County Medical School. He started a surgery residency after medical school, and by the time he was 26, he was the chief surgeon at the medical school. In other words, he was making all the calls, and there's doctors on staff, there's surgeons on staff that been there 20 years, but they went to him when they wanted to know, when they had a case that was life or death, they'd went to him. That's how good he was. So he went through that, and he didn't like it because he was in a big hospital in Detroit, and there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of administrators, sniping at you, and he just like, "Fuck this, man. Let me go be a surgeon in a small town, and I'll be the only surgeon in town." So he moved to Ludington, Michigan, and he was the only surgeon in town. At that time, GPs were taking out gallbladders. GPs were doing hernia operations and just maiming and killing people. There was no malpractice. There was no lawyers back then. And so he moves to town, and he's the best surgeon in Michigan. He did the first open heart surgery on a little black girl in Detroit, 7-year-old girl. She had a hole in her heart. And they at that time, they didn't have a way to stop the heart, because they couldn't divert the blood to the oxygenator and then revert it back to the body, and so in other words, the body could get oxygen and blood while the heart is stopped. So he spent 1.5 years, and he went through like 600 dogs, and he came up with a way to finally keep the dogs alive and stop their heart and repair whatever it was. And so he developed the first heart pump in the early 50s. And he never got credit for it because he didn't care. He just wanted to, you won't even probably see him in the history books other than a few pictures on the front page of the Detroit Free Press. But anyway, long story short, he moves to town, And I'm growing up, and I'm watching him, and I'm watching how hard he worked. I mean, 2 a.m. He gets home. He works all day. He's got 3 patients a day. He's got 3 operations a day, every day. For years, he never took a day off. He was the only surgeon in a town of 20,000 people. So every car accident, every scheduled operation, everything that you could possibly imagine was on his plate. And so he worked, but I always said, well, that's what you wanted to do. Why complain about it? But the problem is, it really wasn't what he wanted to do. It was only a way for him to feel secure in this poisonous society that we live in. And so he always told me, he's like, Greg, no matter what you do, no matter what you do, you're a Castellani. He would say, you're a Castellani. In other words, he was basically saying, you're a miracle of creation. Realize that, so you don't have to torture yourself your entire life like I have and come at the end of it. And he still had self-doubt. He was still, because when you carry self-doubt, that's what the thing is with fear. You got to be careful with fear. Fear is great. You got to have the awareness and you got to use it. But if you see that fear is taking control of your ego and driving your ego rather than your truth, so people talk about Charlie and they say, hey, Charlie had no fear. And I'm like, no, Charlie had a lot of fear. Charlie ain't stupid. But he was rational about his fear. He used fear to survive. And that's what it's there for. He didn't let fear run him and make him get involved in some stupid society that doesn't lead anywhere. My old man died. He spent his whole life saving people. He saved everybody in that town. Still calls me, oh, your dad saved this, so and so and so and so. There's not a person in that town that would be standing if my old man wasn't their surgeon for 20 years. And when I went to his funeral, when he died young. He was 59. I went to his funeral, and people always joked. They'd be like, you're going to have to rent out Oriole Field, which was our football stadium. You're going to have to rent out Oriole Field to have the funeral for your dad. And I believed that. I'm like, yeah, shit. Everybody I talk to, I mean, the cops pull him over. Oh, sorry, Dr. Castellani. I mean, he could just do what he wanted to do. But he just didn't understand. And he was put in such a position of survival that he had to do what he did. But all I'm saying is, he freed my mind when I was young. And he told me that just being a human being is enough. There's nothing else you need to do. Just be a human being. Be true to yourself. Because all the shit that I've done doesn't mean shit. And then when he died, guess what? The only ones were at his funeral was me and my 4 brothers. And a couple other people, So nobody cares. They don't. Why would they fucking care? They're suffering. They're in this fucking system. They're working themselves to death for a paycheck and to keep their old lady happy. And okay, they get a gallbladder infection and you take out their gallbladder. Maybe you save their life. So what? They're already dead, so they don't appreciate that. If you could save somebody's mind, then they'll remember that. But if you just, it's basically like a mechanic. You're driving yourself to death on a job, and your carburetor goes out. Mechanic comes in, he replaces your carburetor and sends you on your way. You don't give a fuck about that mechanic because he's sending you back to the hell that you came from. But when you can change someone's mind and you can make them realize that, or just increase their awareness a little bit of what's going on, I guarantee you 95% of our problems are because we don't have the awareness to know what the hell's going on in this world. We just look at it, fuck, what are you going to do? another murder, another fucking mass killing, war in the Middle East, Russia, China, all this crap. And they throw it on you because they want you to consume. As long as you're consuming, as long as you're buying their product, as long as they're selling their fear and you're buying it, they can control you. Charlie saw that when he was a kid, when he was 8, 9 years old. Trust me. I guarantee you. You know, they talk about, oh, he just he had nobody to watch him. He had whatever. He had people to watch him, but he was such a man by the age of 6, and he saw what the fuck the world was going to. He's like, I'd rather run away. I'd rather just be gone. And just, you know, the kid was roaming nationwide from age 10 to 13 when he was probably 4 feet tall, about 80 pounds. You know, that's how much guts he's got, and he was not ever going to compromise and never get into this system. The system destroyed my father. The system destroyed my brother, who OD'd. My other brothers, one of them's a psychiatrist, and whatever the fuck is, no, a fucking neurosurgeon or some shit. I got another brother who's a multi-millionaire. He's made a fortune, and he was a computer programmer, but he was aware of the technical side, so the technical stocks, and he bought a bunch of tech stocks like Cisco and Microsoft. So he made 10 times more than his job. But he's miserable. And he calls me, Craig, I don't know why I'm miserable. And the same with my brother Rudy. He's an extreme, they're all successful. They got the kids. His daughters already went through medical school, and she's running that same trip that he tried and that my dad tried. And they're like, why are we unhappy? We have everything. Why are we unhappy? And it's just so simple to me why they are unhappy. You know, it's once you compromise, because we all got truth in our heart, and so your heart will tell you what to do no matter what, no matter how fucked up you are, and no matter what you've been through. If you listen to your heart, it will tell you what you need to do. And when you forsake your heart and you say, "Well, sorry, heart, I can't do that. I gotta make money. I'm trapped. I gotta whatever." You're just, you're digging your own grave. So, I guess the summation here is realize what you are. We're all miracles of creation. I mean, look at us. We're walking around. We got blood vessels, blood pumping, nerves. We got the brain running the whole body. We got the most complicated systems you could imagine in the world, in the universe. And I'm in one right now. You know, and you go outside, you see a tree, and it grows from a little seed. Really, I mean, seeds go down all the way to the atom, and the atom goes down farther than that. Things are infinitely small, and they're infinitely large. And you look at the earth, I mean, you can't help but see the intelligence in that. So if you can see the intelligence in that, and you can appreciate it, and you can realize that if you don't get into that intelligence, because you can, because you're part of it, but you walk away from it, like I did for 35 years, and chasing money, pussy, whatever the fuck I was chasing, cars, businesses, all this superficial shit that doesn't add up to nothing. But now I'm chasing the truth. And so I see the truth. I see the tree, and I see what an incredible, unbelievable miracle a tree is. A little seed, really? This little fucking seed grows into a 500-foot tall redwood oak tree. You know that shit. It's and I think that's part of taming the ego, because the ego constantly tells you, oh, you didn't get this, you didn't acquire that, you're not successful at this and all this. It's like the devil is talking to you, is basically what it is. You know, if anybody had any brains, they would tell you, you are a miracle of creation. There's nothing else you need to know. You just have to stay true to that and not have to add all this bullshit on and bank accounts and cars and, you know, vacations and all this insanity because we don't realize what we are. We don't realize we're already perfect. And Manson has helped me realize that. You dig?